Voll is actually an abbreviation for the value of lost load, and it is a term that's used commonly throughout the industry. So I'll refer to Voll all the way through this. Voll is actually the monetised representation of what the average customer would be willing to pay for the security of the supply. Voll in a nutshell underpins the key regulatory matrix. So if there was a magic number that underpins the ED1 methodologies, Voll is that number. The value that established was £16,000, and that is based on the average domestic and SME customer, so small to medium enterprise customer. Electricity North West re-evaluated Voll under the Network Innovation Allowance and carried out a very large piece of customer research, 6,500 customers, which is a robust sample by anybody's estimate, to look at whether or not this £16,000 per megawatt hour, this magic number, is still appropriate, whether that has changed, and critically, how that varies by different customer type. We found that Voll had increased dramatically since it was last re-evaluated, significantly outstripping inflation. We found that Voll varies significantly by domestic customer and SME customer. We also established that there was quite a significant variation in Voll between domestic customers that live in rural localities and those that live in urban areas. One of the significant findings was that customers that are struggling with fuel poverty, the value of lost load is significantly higher than the average. So a customer that is struggling with fuel poverty will not have the resilience that an average customer might have. In terms of the high level results, what we've established from the Voll research is that Voll values vary significantly. Now, this comes as no great surprise. We knew that that was going to be the case, but we've now got the evidence base to support that, and that evidence allows us to utilise that information in a much more nuanced and meaningful way.
Well, the Voll project gave us an enormous amount of data on customer valuation of lost load, so what happens when the electricity goes off. And from that, we understood from a customer perspective the things that did and didn't drive increased Voll values. So the Voll project explored all sorts of different vectors in terms of low carbon usage, demographics and so on. And what we've been doing with the Voll project is looking at how you combine that data into something that might guide better investment decision making. Because the whole idea is that if you understand better how customers value your service when it's not there, then you'll be able to tailor your investment decisions to reflect that and make sure that you're investing in the areas where that service is most highly valued. Now that has implications across the industry, from how you calibrate the incentives for reliability and incentivising power cuts, through to how you make longer term investment decisions about the future electricity network. And what we've been doing in the next stages of the Voll project is to work out how you take that customer data and build it into something that you can actually use in terms of an investment decision on a piece of equipment or on a piece of network. And in order to do that, what you have to do is convert that customer data, that sample customer data, into something that reflects geographic space. And you have to use the spatial data sets that we can now access about vulnerability, about fuel poverty, about demographics, to identify what the value of lost load is for a particular geographic area rather than just individual customers. And what you can then do is start to look at what equipment you have in that area and how that equipment serves the customers, and start to factor that into your investment decision making so that you are really targeting those areas where the loss of electricity will be most keenly felt. And because of where we are in the price control process, that's feeding into the discussions that we're having with Ofgem about how those investment decisions are made and justified, and the forms that takes, so cost-benefit analysis, for example, but also how you calibrate the incentive rates around things like power cuts. One of the most interesting aspects of Voll is how far you start to to disaggregate from a single value that treats all customers as the same into something that's more tailored to the actual locations and the customers that you serve. And in that way you can actually start to achieve the goal of delivering investment value where customers most value it.